if I could attract your attention for a couple moments. I know that we all enjoyed hearing Dr. Dana King speak earlier this morning, one of the most amazing commencement addresses I've heard. If you have a couple of comments for our group, and then I have some things I'd like to share with you. Dr. Dana King.
Come to me with your issues, your problems. I'm a doctor. First of all, Dr. Eisler, thank you for the guidance that you have served in your capacity on behalf of this university. That you have embodied the vision and the mission of Woodbridge and Helen Ferris, you and your wife, and carrying out equity and equality and kindness here at the university on behalf of all students. And I'm just so grateful that this happened when you were still here. And so,
Thanks. That's so kind.
and all of you for the work that you do on behalf of students. I mean, we were all those students at one time, right? We didn't know our left from our right. We knew we were home trained, but we sure didn't act like it, right? At times. For loving these students for who they are and letting them show up as their whole selves. That's what this school is about. And I'm not kidding when I say that this university, although it's markedly different than when I attended Ferris State College, allowed me to grow to be the person that I was destined to be, and to learn to like myself, and to see myself, and to share what gifts I had been given with the world. And it had to happen here. It had to happen here. It wouldn't have worked anywhere else, because I didn't have the confidence. And I just am so happy at this point in my life that I can come back and serve this university in the capacities that I've been invited to do so. I joked with my family, my kids couldn't come, and I said, well, this is how they get you. They can't, you don't have any money when you're going through the phases of your life, and then you get to a point and then they haul you back in, and that's when you commit, both with your treasure and your time. I haven't shared this with you, Dante, and I hope you don't mind. My nephew, Dante Little Horse James, is no longer with us, and he was the brightest light. And I have to talk to people before this happens, but I am committing to this university a scholarship in his name for the pharmacy school, so that they can continue to work with populations and serve them in communities and give them resources, people they can talk to, in addition to having the pharmacological offerings. My brother's son was a beautiful, beautiful human, and he was both African American and Native American. And it's my hope that a scholarship in his name, Dante Little Horse James, will serve those populations as well. So I love you, and he lives on. He lives on in us every day, and he will live on behalf of students here at this university. So I thank you for this great gift you have given to me and my family. And I may live a long ways away, but my heart is here. When I land, I get in that little rental car and I drive 80 miles an hour to get here, out of fear that the truck behind me is going to run me over, but because I want to be here. And I am so grateful that I can come back and be here more often, so thank you. Thank you.
We're moved by your gift and the emotion. This is a copy of your, of the citation that you read.
Thank you.
And then this is something I hope you'll find very special.
What?
We have a wonderful artist that takes pictures and makes these drawings.
Oh, that's so fabulous.
And this
Are they
is-
here?
No, the artist is not here today, but this is yours.
Wow. This is fabulous. This is, thank you. I mean, everything is fabulous. Wow. This is, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you.
So please encourage.
Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Robert Fleischman, will introduce the Honorary Doctorate candidate.
Good morning. I'm Bobby Fleischman, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. We are honored today to recommend a Ferris alumna who has led an illustrious career. She has devoted her life to telling stories of people from around the world through broadcast television and now through her career as an artist. We are proud to recognize Dana King. Please allow me to share the resolution concerning our honorary doctorate candidate, Ms. Dana King. It's the Honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters. Whereas, Dana King, you have built a successful and distinguished 25-year career as a broadcast journalist, serving as an anchor for San Francisco's CBS affiliate, KPIX, then co-anchoring ABC's Good Morning America Sunday and CBS Morning News, along with other CBS news programs. Whereas, in your world news coverage of Hurricane Mitch in Honduras, the 10th anniversary of the Rwandan genocide, conflict in Afghanistan, femicide in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, and the September 11th attacks, you garnered 5 Emmys, 2 Edward R. Murrow Awards, and 2 Gracie Awards. Whereas, you followed your passion for art and sculpting and earned a Master of Fine Arts degree from the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, becoming an award-winning classical figurative sculptor who creates work of art in bronze that commemorate the history of African descendants. Whereas, one of your best-known sculptures is in an outdoor sculpture dedicated to the memory of the women who led and sustained the Montgomery bus boycott, on display at the National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, Alabama. And whereas, with equity and justice at the forefront of your art and volunteerism, you actively serve on the board of directors of the Ferris Foundation, the cabinet for the Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia, in addition to art organizations in California that support diversity, equity, access, and inclusion. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Ferris State University offers you to its sincere gratitude and takes great pride in conferring upon you the honorary degree, Doctor of Humane Letters, with all rights and privileges thereunto pertaining.
Dana King, Ferris State University is privileged to pay tribute to you today by virtue of the laws of the state of Michigan and the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Ferris State University. With the sincere good wishes of the faculty and students of this university, I confer upon you the honorary degree Doctor of Humane Letters, with all the rights and privileges therein. As a symbol of this recognition, we invest you with this doctoral hood. And present you with this diploma. May I present to you Dr. Dana King.
Oh my goodness. Why'd I put on any makeup? Well, hello, family. You graduates, you did this thing. We are family. We are alumna and alumnus of Ferris State University. You did it, yeah. Dr. Eisler and the entire leadership of this university, I want to thank you for gracing me with this honor that I do not deserve, but I will do my best to be an ambassador out in the world for Ferris State University. I want to thank my family for being here. My brother is here from Denver. He is an amazing warrior against oppression and justice, a Juris Doctor who moved to Japan to learn Japanese, who speaks Spanish, who's a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo and a 4th degree black belt in Hapkido. I love you more than anything, more than anyone. My cousin, Ann James Boyd, who came in from Ann Arbor this morning. She's a pediatric cardiologist. I love you and thank you for being here. And I apologize because in terms of the James gene pool, they got it all. You just get me today. I want to thank and give love to my Big Rapids family, the matriarch of the family, Judy Cook, the Queen of the North. Her daughters, who are my allies and accomplices, we're all going to go to jail together. Kelly Cook and her little sister, Cammie Cook. 2 amazing women. Thank you for being here today. 9 a.m. graduation. What's up with that? It is so early. It's what time in Oakland? And by the way, I send you righteous greetings from Oakland. You didn't even get to sleep in this morning, right? When I graduated, we at least had the ceremony in the afternoon, and that's about all I remember of it. I surely don't remember the speaker. And funny twist of fate, I may not want you to remember your graduation speaker either. But I'm going to do my best to achieve the opposite from happening this morning. And since I am what stands between you and your Instagram photo moment when you receive your diploma, let me just dive in, because lucky you, I only have about 10 minutes. I may go over a little, but my brother's here and he's going to give me the hook in case I go too long. When I graduated, I didn't know much about the Ferris history, and quite honestly, I didn't give it much thought. Jesus said it best, a prophet is not without honor, except in his own hometown. This townie, Big Rapids High School class of 1978, I'm embarrassed to say, I look down on attending Ferris. What I know now that I did not know then was the history of Woodbridge and Helen Ferris, who were devoted to equity, diversity, inclusion, access, and justice in action, not just words. Woodbridge Ferris, until his death in 1928, was a champion for unity and for racial equality. He forged a relationship with Booker T. Washington, the founder of the Hampton Institute, now the Hampton University, allowing Hampton students to attend Ferris from Virginia to learn what they were not legally able to learn in the post-Reconstruction Jim Crow South. The Hampton arrangement began 10 years after the first African-American student attended Ferris, and that was in 1900. 122 years ago, young Black men came here and graduated and went on to become the doctors and pharmacists and dentists in their cities and towns. I had no idea of our collective history until a few years ago when I read the book that's in my bag, Haste to Rise. This book is amazing. Haste to Rise was written by Dr. David Pilgrim and Franklin Hughes. So I didn't know this history when I graduated, but thanks to people like Dr. Pilgrim and Franklin Hughes and the Jim Crow Museum staff and others on this campus, we now know the significance of Ferris and the educational equity practiced here since the university's founding as it relates to American history. And I couldn't be prouder of that. And I know, you're not gonna read anything for a while. I get it. But when you're ready, please lift this book, Haste to Rise, and don't wait 35 years or more to learn the significant history of Ferris like I did. This history is not just about Black people attending Ferris. It's about the institution's mission to make sure that higher education was available to any and everyone, no matter their color, the religion they practiced, how much money they had, who they loved, whatever. It has always been the mission and vision of the institution that is handing you your diploma today. When I left Ferris 40 years ago, 1 week after graduation, I was a living cliche. I hopped into my Volkswagen and I packed it full of everything I could pack into it, and I drove to California. And yeah, I actually put a sign on the back window that said, California or bust. I was that geek. I didn't have a job. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a place to live. I drove straight to the ocean and found the dopest studio apartment I could find, wood floors, brick walls, high ceilings, right on the craziest part of the Strand on Venice Beach. It also had an entire colony of cockroaches already living there, and they were horrible roommates. I didn't have a job, and it took a while to get one. I actually had to rent my car out a couple of times, $75 a week. There were many days I only had an apple and peanut butter in my refrigerator. And the funny thing about going to California was this. I was the BRS, the Big Rapids High School graduate, BRHS graduate, who was too afraid to go to Michigan State, where I was accepted. I was too afraid to go because it was too big. I feared getting lost in the shuffle, becoming invisible, dismissed, ignored. But mainly, I was just afraid. So I signed up here at Ferris. No great intention other than it was familiar and safe. It was comfortable. And I felt like I would be okay here. I got more than I bargained for from Ferris because it gave me more than an education. It took a while, but by the time I graduated, I was confident strong in my belief in myself, I felt like I could do anything. And all I needed was someone to take a chance on me. So I drove 2,250.7 miles away to try my hand at life. And I went to Los Angeles because I didn't want to compete in the Michigan job market at that time against those Michigan State and U of M grads. And that wasn't insecurity. That was just reality. So in LA, when I was in search of a job, when I was feeling down and wondering if I had made a colossal mistake, I would drive up to the top of the city on Mulholland Drive and look down on the lights below and tell myself that there was something out there for me, and it would either find me or I would find it. I ended up having 2 different careers before I left LA. I started in television advertising sales. I didn't even know that jobs like that existed. But LA was the kind of place where you could be anyone you wanted to be. You could do anything your heart desired. You could dye your hair purple, and I could take on a Spanish accent. No one would know, right? So I sold airtime for about 5 years before, and I kid you not, my boss brought me into his office and he told me he wanted me to be a reporter. I said, where? He said, on TV, here. And he probably was rethinking his idea of having me do it. I told him, nah, no thank you, I'm not interested. Actually, what I'm interested in is your job. I want to run this TV station. That's where the power was. He won. But not before I negotiated a way back to my job, because if I didn't like it, I didn't want to do it. I wanted my job. And if he didn't like me in the job, I wanted my job back. Because I really thought it would be easy. I mean, really, all you do is stand there and talk, right? Blah, 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 like I'm doing now. But it was the hardest thing I ever had to learn. And I sucked at it. I couldn't even remember my own name. I couldn't remember the anchors I had to toss back to. I was like, and I'm in front of this fire, back to you. And I ended up doing that for 25 years. And while I loved it until I didn't, I never really got comfortable at it. It wasn't my passion. But what I did love about it was traveling all over the world and meeting people of all different cultures. I covered, well, you've heard, I won't even get into it, but it was an amazing life. I covered the Gulf War from the aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. I met witch doctors in West Africa who terrified me, and I cheated death a couple of times. It was the greatest challenge to land in a country and navigate complicated politics, especially as a woman, and to meet people, keep my crew safe, and get home with a story. I was an adrenaline junkie. The beauty of the work was the people I met, everyday people, doing their best for themselves, their families, and often their countries. I think of them when I am disgusted with the divisiveness in politics in my own country. I've witnessed the faith that humans carry when facing great personal loss. I've been the recipient of grace and kindness from people who have nothing to give but love. I have witnessed babies being born in the middle of hurricanes and searched with grieving parents looking for their lost children. And I held on to all those stories of humanity when at the height of my career, I was fired. Fired. It was a surprise, but it wasn't surprising because I always knew that one day I would get fired. Fired by a boss who didn't like the sound of my voice, didn't like the cut of my jib, as they like to say. And it went down like that. In 2012, after 5 Emmy and 2 Edward R. Murrow Awards, my brand new boss on his second day at work, called me in to tell me that my hair was a problem. My hair, not my work ethic, not our ratings, not any complaints from viewers, my hair. Not this current crop of hair, no. My hair was short, and after 20 years of dyeing it, a color that was not found in nature, I let it go gray. And as soon as he started in on me, I said to myself, breathe, smile, don't say anything, and listen to every word. Remember it. So he told me that because my skin was so dark and my hair was so light, that it was a distraction for the viewers. And I thought to myself, that's one. And then he asked me if I would dye it. I said no. I told him that I got more letters about my hair going gray than any other story I'd ever covered, and 99.9.54% were in loving support. That was number 2. So when he hit number 3 and asked me if I would wear a wig, I stood up, dusted myself off, thanked him for his time, and told him that I realized he needed to do what he needed to do, but to get back to me with an offer. He flew to New York the next day, talked to his bosses, and came back with my offer. And I was gone in a week. And here's the thing. When I started in broadcasting in my late 20s, I knew that I didn't want to grow old on TV because I didn't want some man, and I only worked for men for 25 years. I didn't want one of them to come up and go, you know, Dana, you need to pull this up and tighten that up. So I decided I wanted to retire by the age of 50. So when the hair conversation happened at 52, I was already gone mentally. I had returned to school, working on my MFA, with the intention and dream of starting my own art practice. The only thing missing from my plans was the how of it. So I knew that when I got the offer to leave, that something like that only happens once. And if I didn't take it, it would never come to pass again. And that set me on my final career. I was always an artist, and 25 years of broadcasting and telling stories satisfied that creativity. And now as a sculptor of black bodies in bronze, creating equity in art, I still tell stories. It's just the medium that has changed. In many ways, reporting stories on TV meant that they came and went with a few breaths, whereas the stories I share in bronze empower them to become nearly eternal because the material lasts forever. In 2021, I installed a sculpture in honor of the co-founder of the Black Panther Party, Dr. Huey P. Newton. It was commissioned by his widow. I also installed an installation called Monumental Reckoning. It represents the beginning of the business of slavery. 350 ancestral figures in Golden Gate Park surround a 130-year-old, 52-foot tall plinth where the sculpture was held, and it was a monument to hate and ideology. Sculpture inhabits space, and space is power. My work elevates the history of African descendants as it relates to American history. I know that history must be told in context, 360 degrees of truth. America's history is hard, but we all deserve to know the truth of it. And I need you to know, I didn't know I was a sculptor. I took a class halfway through my MFA with a master sculptor named Philippe Farreau, and that was it. I couldn't even finish the class. I just had to get started on it. And that was 11 years ago, and I can't stop because it's a gift from God. Which leads me to today. time is a fluid, funny thing. I graduated 40 years ago, and standing here before you was not even on my radar. It's your time now, and it will expand and compress, and before you even know it, it will be 40 years from now for you. That compression of time allows you to look back at the road you traveled, and hopefully you will see that all those times you worried about whether you were making the right decision, especially when it didn't feel right, were exactly the detours that led you to where you ended up. I see that thread now in my rearview mirror. And I know that you've read stories about what advice would you have for your younger self. Well, I want to encourage you to think more differently. Looking back into the window of your past is easier. I'd like you to look forward and ask yourself now and every day leading up to your 80-year-old self, how am I doing? Am I living a life I'll be proud of at 80? Am I doing things that I will regret at 80? Or more importantly, what are the things I will regret not having done? And then when you get there, what will that you at 80 look back to find? Did you do the things that you thought were important? And in your 20s and 30s and beyond, will it even matter? Were you kind when you didn't have to be? When it didn't cost you anything or give you anything? Did you lead with love and in a loving way as often as possible? Did you use your access to power and powerful people to help others? Did you speak up for the voiceless? How did you pick yourself up from the storms of life that are coming? How did you start anew after great loss? Because truth be told, you'll see at 80 that success didn't come without failure. Will your 80-year-old self be proud of you? Your 80-year-old self will be the sum total of all your choices. Make the world a better place, please. Take care of yourself. Stand up for others. Don't be afraid to do the right thing. Don't put limitations on yourself. What is yours to do will reveal itself, so pay attention. I leave you now with the words of the Sufi poet Rumi, the words that I try to live up to every day. Wherever you stand, be the soul of that place. You have my love, my respect, and my gratitude. Thank you for allowing me to celebrate your day with you. God bless you.